Representative Heavrin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So obviously workforce is the number one concern of businesses across the state. We're hearing that day in and day out. We've been hearing it since before the pandemic, but obviously in the last 2 years, that's even bigger issue for all businesses. We're seeing so many open jobs and people not filling them. So obviously the pandemic had a lot to do with that, but you filed House Bill 499, which has to do with childcare, which is one of the top issues facing the workforce and getting back to work. So why don't you tell us a little bit about House Bill 499?
Yeah, so House Bill 499 is a public-private partnership bill that gets employers having the conversation that childcare should be offered as a benefit. Now, let me start off by saying this is not a mandate. This is totally optional. And so this just gives employers the opportunity to have a little help. So it's a dollar for dollar match with this. And so kind of what the basis is I recognize that this is a huge workforce barrier, like you said, getting people to work. And that's one of our number one struggles, I think, right now across the Commonwealth and across the United States. And so a little interesting fact, so our biggest labor force participation is between the ages of 25 and 54 years old. That's 77%. And so, technically those are childbearing ages. So how do we help those people continue to stay in the workforce to be able to help our economy, our tax base, et cetera, et cetera? And so this bill is meant to help that. And so kind of what the gist is that if you're an employer and you want to say, like, let's say you want to offer $250 a week to your employee for childcare, this fund will match that dollar for dollar if the employee is making around the state median income, which is about $52,000. And so really the intent of this bill is to help middle income families, because I recognize there's a huge cliff barrier. And so we really want to help that right there with the benefit cliff. And so making sure that our middle income families get taken care of as well. Because I think that with childcare, that sector gets hit the hardest. Because truly the cost of childcare per month could be a mortgage payment for most families. And so in order to get both families back, to get both heads of households back in the workforce, I think this is a great opportunity for that. So it matches 100% if you make less than $52,000, and then if you make more than, it is an 80% match. It's still just a great incentive for businesses to be able to offer childcare to their employees.
Absolutely. So if I'm a business and I want to get involved in this, if the bill becomes law and I'm ready to offer childcare as a benefit to my employees, how do I get involved in this program? What does that process look like from the employer side?
So it'll actually be a contract with CHFS, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. It will go through there. And so they will be the ones that administer the program. So we will make sure that there's the contact information out there for businesses for them to be able to contact them to get signed up.
Now, what made you want to file this bill? Obviously, we know that workforce is a huge issue, but going into the 2022 session, what made you really want to get behind this issue?
So a few things, and Jacqueline, that's a great question. First off, that's the number one thing I'm hearing throughout the 18th district, which I represent, all of Grayson County and part of Hardin County. And, workforce issues, how do we get people back to work? We've got to get people in the workforce because we've got so many job availabilities. And then, so that was a big one. Another reason, I had a constituent come to me and say, hey, I'm a childcare owner and we've really been suffering. What can we do to help out? And so from that perspective, I thought this was a great opportunity because this really is going to help childcare facilities. They were really hurt over the pandemic. And so being able to have money come to them, I think is a big win for both sides. And then third, I think just being a young woman, I think that's a really important, a lot of women had to leave the workforce, which men did too, but it really affected a lot of women, had to leave the workforce during the pandemic. And so I recognize that. And so I just want to make sure that we get women back in the workforce. The more voices we have at the table, the better policies that we have going on.
Absolutely. Now, I think that this bill has quite a bit of support. I know that there's multiple groups who have signed on to support the bill who are being vocal about that. But I think you also have a lot of co-sponsors signing on to this legislation as well. So how many co-sponsors are you up to now? And, what does the support of these groups say about the legislation?
So we've got 51 co-sponsors as of yesterday, and I'm thrilled with that. It's bipartisan, it's rural and urban members, and there, it's several members that have strong voices in the caucus on both sides. So I'm so thankful for that, and I'm very thankful that this is the number one priority for the Kentucky State Chamber. They've been able to bring a huge coalition. So we've got groups like the Kentucky Association of Manufacturing, Kentucky Association of Economic Development. We've got tons of local chambers. We've got big businesses like Toyota, and we also have groups like Keiko. And so I think just with the amount of coalition members that we have that are supporting this, it really shows the importance of that.
Now, what do you want people, especially working families? I mean, this is really targeted toward working families, who is a big population in Kentucky. What do you want them to know about this bill and the process, where the bill is at right now and what you hope to see throughout the next couple of weeks?
I think the biggest thing I want working families to know is that we hear them. As a representative, we're here to be your voice and to represent the people. And so I want them to know that we hear them and we're trying to help see what we can do to make getting back to work easier for them. So currently, House Bill 499 is waiting to, it's currently, I think it's on the Committee on Committees, but it'll go through the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. And so I've just been asking members, our coalition members, to be making sure to talk to their state representatives. We're still looking for co-sponsors to show the importance of this bill. If you see members of A&R, Appropriations and Revenue, wander in the hallways, make sure to mention to them how important this bill is to get